Great, welcome everyone. Let's call the meeting to order. Order of business, Parks and Recreation and Leisure Activities Committee meeting. Agenda for March the 3rd, 2025 at 12 p.m. in the Parkdale Room, Charlottetown City Hall. And the meeting is live streamed at www.charlottetown.ca. Call the meeting to order. Item 2, declarations of conflict of interest.
None.
You sure?
I just wanted to correct that. Should be charlottetown.ca/video. So they see it online.
Again, declarations of conflict of interest? None? Approval of the agenda?
Moved.
Second it.
Okay. Adoption of the minutes?
Moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Business arising from the minutes.
None.
So, today, our reports are as follows. And item 6, review of the 2025-26 Parks and Recreation draft operational budget. We'll start there, and I'm going to ask our assistant manager, Christopher Drummond, to take us through the operational budget. Christopher?
All right, thank you. So you'll see I have a budget summary, so instead of going line by line in the budget, the budget summary kind of summarizes the overall areas of our department administration, programs, the 2 arenas, and then parks. And then at the end, we can go through the revenue part of it. With regards to administration, there's just a slight increase with regards to salaries, so step increases for 2 of the 3 staff, the admin assistant and the assistant manager in that position. And then with increases in the salaries also goes increases with the different benefits. But overall, there's not a whole lot of increase in the administrative side of the budget. So we're proposing for this year a budget of $417,810.
How much?
$417,810 just for administration.
So 16,000.
So it's about 15,000 increase for administration, correct?
When you say administration, Christopher, what is the addition for? The 15,000?
It's to do with salary increases
Okay.
for the admin assistant and the assistant manager and the
Yep.
benefits. So everything else is status quo in that, except for,
Can I just go back to revenue? Did you just quickly go through that? Or
no, I said we'll do revenue at the end, yeah.
Okay.
Programs
Programs and grants?
Programs and grants, so.
Yes. Sorry.
Good, no problem. So in programs and grants, we have, again, sort of a slight increase. One, we have a new initiative, which we will discuss later with regards to program staff for Simmons Pool. So that's not included in this number, but it would be an overall increase if we were to approve it for Simmons Pool lifeguards. There's a small decrease in salaries because last year we had assistant program coordinator contract position because the assistant program coordinator was on maternity leave. So now that she's back full-time, we no longer have those 2 positions carrying into one budget. So there's a slight decrease there. Benefits and the benefits does have an increase because of the assistant program coordinator coming back now. She's entitled to her benefits, more benefits. Minor sports subsidies, we're predicting that they'll be about the same as they have been. There haven't been any large increases in those subsidies. Over the last couple of years, numbers have kind of stayed the same, so we're not projecting a whole lot of increase there. And we have a slight decrease in our special events, but we have an increase in programs. We're initiating a new revamped ball hockey program, so there's a slight increase in our programs and equipment budget line there. But overall, that budget, will see, an increase of about, $8,300 after, proposed first it was about a, 23,000 increase, but we had made a couple of cuts and savings, and it's about an $8,000 increase compared to last year's overall budget for programs and grants.
Just out of curiosity, Chris, where's the ball hockey program gonna be played out of?
So we do that out of Mulberry. We did that the last couple of years. It used to go at Cody Banks indoors during the month of April. But then with Simmons, when it closed, we weren't able to go to Cody Banks as early as April. So it got pushed to May, and we found that people weren't going inside. It was too warm. It was
I used to play
soccer,
there.
baseball and stuff that was combined. So now that we have the new multi-sport facility in Mulberry that is well-equipped for ball hockey, that's where we've been running that program the last couple of years.
So has it been talked about moving that program to other multi-purpose facilities?
We haven't talked, we thought about going to West Royalty at one time as well too. But we kind of went to Mulberry just because it has the dasher board system and it looks more like an official sort of outdoor rink. But we could definitely look at moving it to different facilities to try and spread it out throughout the city in those multi-sport facilities, yes.
I know, yeah, anyway, okay, cool, thanks.
And definitely too, if the, when the Elmer J. McFadgen rink is repaired, then we can definitely look at that new revamped facility as well too, so.
Thank you.
No problem. Any other questions on programs and grants?
No.
Okay. So we'll move on to Cody Banks. So there's a slight decrease, or there is a decrease at Cody Banks. We're projecting a savings of about 38,000 at Cody Banks for this upcoming budget year. Reason for that is one of the staff persons who would normally go to Cody Banks for 14 weeks will no longer be there. They're gonna stay at Simmons. They would move from Simmons to Cody Banks in the summertime or in the spring because we would have some more rentals. But now that Simmons is gonna stay open longer in April and will open earlier in September, they will stay at Cody Banks. So their 14 weeks will move from Cody Banks back and stay at Simmons. And there's a decrease as well in the benefits for that. And then again, as I mentioned, with Cody Banks being closed in April of this year and September, the plant will be off, so there's a decrease in the power usage at that facility. So we are gonna have some savings at Cody Banks overall for this year. In that budget.
Is any community groups looking for a menu like Cody Banks? If some came forward, would the opportunity be there for them to rent the facility?
In what time frame?
The months that you said that it's gonna be closed.
So renting like the dry floor and things like that,
Yeah.
that they could use? Yes, we've had,
Just to elaborate a little bit, let's say, I don't know if Box Lacrosse has made an attempt to go to the new Simmons. Not sure, but, you know, with that new facility and the lighting, geez, it's a great venue. But if, you know, there are community groups that would like to utilize Cody Banks, is that opportunity there for them?
yes, it would be, yes. So with it being closed in April and September, then that season could be expanded for the dry floor. There's still some prep, obviously, in September when we gotta get the ice ready for October. But, I mean, if Mike, do you have anything?
Know that it's available for the
Yeah.
dry floor those
Yeah.
times.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so that's everything for Cody Banks. Move on to Simmons, so this is where we will see an increase in Simmons. Mainly because now we're operating on a 12-month budget, whereas last year we only had budgeted for 6 months. So salaries and benefits, an increase there, as I mentioned, that one staff person's salary will stay at Simmons for the whole part of that season while the rink is open, so there's an increase there. And then obviously an increase in the power usage at Simmons, and with the pool gonna be operational this summer as well too, there'll be an increase with that. And the water and sewer would increase as well too. And repairs and maintenance. Last year, we only budgeted for 6 months, so this year we're budgeting for the full 12 months. So there is an increase at Cody Banks overall, it's about 91,000 compared, or sorry, at Simmons with 91,000 dollar increase at Simmons compared to Cody Banks.
So that's the bulk of your total increase overall, then your 5.4 from 5.3 last year.
Right.
That's the bulk.
Yes, yeah. Which we knew would be an increase because of the new facility and operating. It is operating more efficiently, but it's gonna be operating more and it's still cost of doing things. And the pool has added to that as well too. We haven't had a pool for 2 years at Simmons, so we haven't had that extra cost that we've had to incorporate into the budget, so.
Mr. Chair? So, Christopher, you're going 12 months, you're gonna have someone there 12 months,
Well, when I say 12 months, it's the budget, like the facility will be
I
open
know the pool is open.
and the pool will be open, but the rink is not gonna be open, like the ice won't be in for 12 months. It'll come out at the end of April and it'll go back in the first September, correct?
End of May.
End of May?
So you don't use it for anything like pickleball?
No,
anything like
it'll
that?
be open, yeah, no, the floor will be used, the walking track will be open.
Right, but not the rink pad itself.
Not the ice won't be in for.
The ice
I
won't
know
be-
that, I
You could
know
use
that.
the dry floor for something, yes.
Yeah, we're using the floor
That's
though.
what I'm wondering, is
Yes.
that's, we've done that in the past with Simmons, the old Simmons?
The old Simmons had the flea market for a number of years.
Oh, but-
Because of the floor, we weren't able to do activities in there because it was,
Heaved.
Wasn't that?
yeah, it wasn't level, so we had the flea market.
But previous to that,
Oh, yeah,
Simmons was,
lacrosse,
well, geez, lacrosse and.
Yeah, ball hockey.
Yeah, there was, yes,
Ball hockey,
yeah,
there
so
was a lot of,
we're looking at around that.
absolutely, yes. No, we would have functions.
Yeah, there'll
We
be-
may move some programming and stuff over there as well too for the summer, so.
Christopher, under Simmons Sports Center, where's the cost, is it under small projects, miscellaneous to operate the canteen? Where do you put that?
So the canteen falls underneath the revenue,
It's
I don't
own
think-
budget
but-
line, yeah.
its own budget line.
In terms,
It's
what's
got
that?
its own budget lines in there.
It's in under Simmons, benefits, utilities, repairs,
No, it's in the, go up to the revenue side.
right, I know the revenue side,
Okay.
what about the expense side?
It should be canteens, let me go find the number.
Can't see
for
it there, is it under miscellaneous?
Salary expenses, so the wages are under salary expenses.
So, Christopher, is there any opportunity to look at maybe what they've done out at the East Link with Tim's or Robbins? Have an operator there to operate the canteen?
I don't know if how much we've talked, I mean, there's always an opportunity to discuss that, but I don't know where the manager and the arena superintendent have spoken about that or what the opportunities were. This was the first year, obviously, for
Oh, yeah.
for running that and how it worked, and there was different talks of a service group or somebody maybe coming in, but the canteen, it's a canteen facility has, you know, capacity
Limited
for,
capacity.
yeah, limited capacity. It doesn't have the capacity to sell
So does the one
fries
at
and do
East
all
Lake.
those things, right? So, yes.
So the reason I asked that, Mr. Chair, we've been out there a lot of walkers. They've always asked me, you know, just an opportunity to sit around after they do their walk. So something we should think about is reaching out to our
If it could
corporate
be a
partners,
revenue, if it could be a revenue generator, yeah.
or revenue neutral.
That's just you make a living, the money we're providing speaks for them, so they should have a.
Originally, we discussed, the canteen serves just, okay, there's two issues here. One is, if you go out to the East Link Center, Tim's has its own setup there, and then there's also canteen services. So I think we could parallel that if, in fact, we go to tender. Now, we did discuss, I think the manager said he just wanted to have the city operate initially to get it open, and that way we'd look at going to tender at a later date. Mike, can you give me an update as far as that going out to tender? Let's start with the canteen first.
Yeah, Frank and I have discussed putting out an expression of interest for a group to come in and run the canteen. So it's with Frank, we'll see where it goes, but it's not a commercial kitchen. There's some limitations to it. There's groups that already said they have no interest due to the layout of the canteen and not having commercial equipment and fryers and those types of things, so there's limitations to it, but we are in discussions about doing an expression of interest for groups.
Would they have access to the kitchen facilities?
Yep.
If they were gonna run the canteen?
Yeah.
They
Yeah,
would
the
still?
kitchen facility is not commercial though, right? It's just a regular walk in your home, refrigerator, stove, dishwasher. It's not a commercial area to cook.
Just to follow up on that, if a community group, for example, wanted to rent the community center, they're having a meeting and they wanted to do a fundraiser and have a pancake breakfast, could they do that there?
Yes,
Um,
as long as they have the proper,
yeah, the canteen has to be a licensed facility,
as long as they
right?
have the proper license.
Similar to like what West Royalty Community Center is, or the Malcolm Dare Community Center, it has to have a class specific license. If you're doing a fundraiser and you're serving food to the public, it has to be a licensed facility to be able to serve that food in case.
West Royalty and Malcolm Dare, they're commercial kitchens.
Yes,
Yeah,
they are now,
commercial.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they have that license, they have that facility, same as our canteens at our clubhouses or the ball field clubhouse, it has a specific license that allows you to prepare food and serve that to the general public in that facility, it has to have certain requirements, right,
Okay,
so.
so can, let's say, I don't know, could be a Boy Scout troop. And they wanna do a fundraiser there, they want access to the kitchen facilities, and they wanna have a pancake breakfast. Are they able to do that?
If it has that license requirement, I don't know what that license requirement, I don't know what the Simmons has for a license.
We have, I think it's a 1B for the canteen. I'd have to look into it to see if it would fit for a pancake breakfast. The user doing the pancake breakfast could apply though themselves for the proper license.
Yeah.
And then they
If
would
they
have to
were a
review the
caterer.
venue, and if it fit, then they could have it, right? It doesn't, we don't have to have the license, the operator could have.
If you have a caterer that has a license, like for example, when we did the open house, or we did the opening ceremonies for the Simmons Arena, we had a caterer that has its own license that was able to come in and serve food to the public, and that was
The
allowed.
difference is when you're cooking on site versus bringing in food and just reheating, that's kind of the line of
Yes.
your license. So if you're cooking on site, it's different than if you're just bringing in and keeping warm in a
Right.
space. Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, this is one area that we missed in the construction of a $36 million facility. Yeah, I just, and anyways,
Well, we can still make it, we can still
well,
make
there's a big
adjustments.
cost to it. There's a big cost, cause exhaust fans, intake fans, that's just the start.
I assume
Electrical.
when we were putting a kitchen in, I just assumed it was just a kitchen like any other
Oh, I
kitchen.
do too.
Did you?
Well,
You could serve and you could, yeah, that's,
2400
anyways.
square foot, community room, so,
Well,
anyway.
Well, yeah, it's a beautiful community room.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Anyway, it
I
is what it
know,
is.
one entrepreneur had expressed an interest, wanted to, I said, well, you'd have to go through a request for proposal. But he did talk about, commercial amenities in the kitchen. He did bring that up. I said, look, I'm not knowledgeable in that field, but can adjustments be made, Mike?
oh yeah, yeah,
Commercial?
but like's been stated, it's a pretty decent expense to try now upgrade to it. And it's not the largest kitchen, but you could do it, it's just, there's an expense to it that would be fairly significant for sure.
that's,
I would suggest you just take it under advisement, Mr. Chair, and have asked staff to come back with
Yeah.
recommendations on how.
Yeah,
you
could you please?
potentially
That's a
enable
good
that.
suggestion.
and Mr. Chair, just a footnote.
Yeah.
The arena out in Rustico.
Yeah.
They can't open their kitchen because they don't have exhaust fans.
Well,
$24 million facility.
there's-
Can't get the smoke
there's some-
in.
There's some issues there.
But
Anyway,
it can be catered to now, though. We can have caterers come in.
Yeah.
You can have caters, but you know yourself, Terry, Malcolm Dara, they're always hosting different events, goes over well. West Royalty Community Center, same thing, goes over very well. Service group, it could be, Lions Club could come in, do up a nice pancake, breakfast for a fundraiser. And, I'd like to see that paralleled at our new facility. Anyway, but as our CAO said, let's take that under advisement and back with some specifics. Thank you. Christopher?
Okay, so if there's no other questions for Simmons, we'll move on.
I'm sorry, I do have one other question.
Okay.
Is there any thought ever in buying, some clothes for our workers, whether it be Cody Banks or Simmons? Simmons staff, look real sharp. Any thought put into that?
They have a clothing budget every year that we purchase them. Their jackets all have Simmons on them. It just depends on what they have on that day, but there's a clothing budget for them.
Okay, just that it'd be sharp to see the, Simmons staff on the clothing.
Yeah, they do have that, as Mike indicated, so they can go and choose if they want a certain type of sweater or whatever, and then they can go purchase it and then
Then we
put the
crest it
logo and they
with
can
the
crest
City
it on
logo.
it, so they do have a budget for that. Okay, so last one is parks. This is obviously our biggest part of our budget. We're seeing not a whole lot there's a little bit of an increase, but a lot of it has to do with again, salaries and benefits. This year we'll have the 4-person position in a full-time role. With that, it'll also increase the benefits, and then we had 1 parks maintenance staff person who was hired partway through the year last year, so they'll have more benefits this year. And there's a few more staff, seasonal staff, that'll be able to have access to benefits. And then just the cost of doing things, cost of materials and things like that have gone up. So we're projecting, we had done some initial cuts to what our proposed budget was of about 44,000, so we were at about 92,000 increase, but we cut that back by 44, so overall the budget for parks is an increase of 48,000 compared to last year.
That's what I was gonna ask you, this sheet here had 92.5, that's what I was getting, it's
Yeah,
40 something.
so it was, yes, exactly.
It's been updated since.
So we went through, well, it, on the other side there, when you look at the proposed savings and revenue
Yeah.
side of the, we had gone through the budget and made a couple of cuts and some savings in different areas and reduced it down to 2.9 million compared to the 3 million we were proposing, so it's about a $48,000 savings. So overall, we're looking at an overall expenses for Parks and Recreation for this year of about 125,000. So it's about a 2.3%
Pretty
increase
reasonable.
compared to last year.
So sorry, Christopher, the 92,652 is now what?
It is now 48,352.
That's 2.
So that was under the variance proposed, and then with
It's
the
not
new,
44, it's 48.
so the savings is 44, that's how much we cut from
Yeah,
This figure is now 40.
the proposed, so the 2.9 is a difference from the 3 million of 48,000, so. So that is,
I'd move it.
Yeah, I'll, but we're gonna do the revenue too.
yes, yep,
Can I just do the revenue first?
sure.
Christopher, Mr. Chair, if I go to page 6, you get 742, 425 on our, I'm just trying to compare it. Christopher?
Yes, 742 to 425 is the,
But now your new one is 906, is that correct? Is that,
so no, that's with the new initiatives, so
Okay.
that,
Okay.
we're not including that one, so the overall revenue proposed for this upcoming year is 856,460.
okay,
The revised, that you're looking at, the 742 was from 23-24.
right,
Last year's proposed, or the last year's budget was 820,000. Now that, we have to keep in mind, we were anticipating that we would have some revenue at Simmons, but not all of it. Now, this new budget incorporates that more revenue at Simmons. We also are incorporating the 2% increase for our programs fees. Also the 2% increase, it's in the reports that are attached with the package. The 2% increase at both Simmons and Cody Banks Arena for their rental increases. And then we're proposing increases to our community centers. It's more than 2%, but it's 28%, but it's based on fees charged of like $100. So it's when you only increase those ones by 2%, it's not a huge increase, so we're proposing a higher increase percentage for the community centers, which brings us to the 856,460 for this year in revenue.
Okay.
So
Increase-
then we can't approve that budget until we approve those fee changes and.
It gets incorporated into the actual budget. Yeah, when you approve your
That's what I-
budget, then those fees are approved as well.
It's included.
In principle, you can say, yes, we agree, like we did it one year where we tried to, or we didn't try, but we had asked to increase by 5.7% because the CPI was so high that year. And we decided, no, we would just increase it by 3%. We felt like maybe a 5.7 was too high for the arenas.
Free across the board.
Yeah, so, and then in our new initiatives, which your worship, you were referencing that number, that's where the other increases would be. If those were approved, then the budget or the revenue would increase to that number.
And your new initiatives is, as you said, someone for the pool, correct?
Yes, exactly, so we can go through those new initiatives once
Just
we go
before you do
through.
that, Christopher,
Yes,
so I'm glad Richard's here, our Director of Community Services. So I'm looking at our 24-25 budget document, right? The numbers I extrapolate for revenue amount to $788,479. In your budget, you have $820 for 24-25, and the actual was $742? No,
So
the
right
actual was
now-
$856.
no, that's for next year's budget, so we're projected right now, we're at, gonna be at 766. But that's because Simmons was late opening, so we didn't get all of that revenue we were projecting to generate at Simmons.
Right,
So when you look at your summary page, the projected, that's up until, the actual up until the end of January, and then we're projecting what the rest of February and March is going to look like. And that number could still increase some too.
okay, so can I just ask again, budget 24-25 was $820,949, correct?
Correct.
So if I calculate what's in this book here that we got last year, it's $788,479. Like, Richard, I think we have to make sure that what we discuss here, vote on, is transferred into these documents, because that's what people are reading. That's what I read before I came in here, and I saw your numbers, and I said, no, your numbers are wrong, because I have numbers here. So, again, I think it's just a transmission of information. But looks all good, $856,460 for the budget for revenue, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Councilor Bernard?
So basically, Christopher, when you're talking about the fee increases, that's the 2% CPI that we agreed a while ago.
That's correct. That's an annual increase that
So
we make.
the only increase that you're asking is for the rental of the halls. And do you want to explain a little bit more on that?
So the increase so the rental of the halls, and then we have a new initiative for sports field rental increases, which is more than the 2%. But with regards to the community centers, right now, the fees that we are charging are less comparable to some other municipalities, again, similar to the sports field. And people are, I think, taking some advantage of renting those facilities at such a low cost. And on the other side of it, it's costing us, Public Works, who do the cleanup and look after the facilities, and then Parks and Recreation, who do the scheduling and the staffing for security and staff to be in the building during the rentals. Those costs are not offsetting what the revenue is bringing in. This is still not going to bring you up to a full cost recovery, but it increases those fees and it restructures the fees, because people were taking advantage as well of a full day rental or a half day rental. And they would say, well, no, my birthday party is only gonna be a half day, and then they would extend, they would go longer and they were only paying a half day fee. So this restructure gives us a better avenue of charging the correct fees for those individuals that are renting, and if they go over their hourly rate, then, or if they go over their daily rate or half-day rate, then we can charge them excess of what they're actually being, or what they're using, so.
Okay.
The only increase that is seeing the CPI is our monthly contract rentals, which is like our after-school programs and stuff at our other facilities. Those ones are about the same.
That's the one that you're saying, those are the ones that are staying at the.
Those are gonna be staying at the CPI. The other ones are increasing by 28% and 10.5%.
So I know I've seen the fees there somewhere, they were charging like
Page 15.
$50 for half a day and $100.
Yes, so on page 15 of the report, in the issue summary, yeah, your half-day rentals, you know, are very minor compared to the service that they're getting and the facilities that they're getting to use, so.
Okay, so basically,
Missing one of the categories, what's the difference between the two?
And we have seen a large increase in those facility rentals and people wanting to use those.
so the $40 rate, the $40 an hour is with your 28% increase.
That'll be with the 28%, yes. Currently, it's only 31 with tax, and now with the 28% increase, it brings it to 40.
It's finance.
Yes, okay, I see now, 3110, so 27 is the base.
Correct, and then your tax.
34, okay, so 34.78 an hour. plus
So
that.
even still with 28%, it's not,
Yeah. And then a full day is going from 186 to 240. They have a full day.
yes, and we're increasing those so we can have a range of numbers in there, so 6 to 8, cause like I said, people would just say, oh, no, I just wanted, they see the half-day rental and then they just say, oh, we're just going to half-day, but then they might go over and go.
So a half day was $93 and now it's going to 120.
Correct.
Not, okay. Okay. So that's really the increases you're asking for, everything else is through CPI, which we
Correct.
agreed a few years ago, so, okay.
There's a change in the presentation.
Okay.
So what's the plan then for the annual increase of these then after you get this kind of shored up to?
So it would go back to CPI and just be your regular 2%
2%
increase,
after that.
correct?
So just one more question. I don't see anything here, Chris, has there been any discussion on the fee rate for the turf field when it's completed?
No, we didn't incorporate that into, when we were doing up the operational budget, we didn't have the turf field incorporated into, the capital budget wasn't approved, so we would have to look at the fees that we're going to charge for the turf field. And that's pending if it opens within whatever time frame, right, so.
Yeah, it'd be late in the fall anyway, I guess, so, at best,
That's
so,
why
okay.
we decided the capital budget to launch it right away, so we get working on it.
Right.
But
That's
it also goes to Councilor McCabe's point that has an impact on potentially the operational component that's not included in here. If that field was to be ready for spring, there'd be no operational costs associated with that field.
and there'd be no revenue,
Correct.
both.
Well, there'd be revenue possibly.
No, if you're not operating the field, how can you have,
I said if it was operating in
but
there.
operation means also expense and revenue.
The point is that, anyways, I'm just.
It's not incorporated in this
It's not
budget.
this budget.
Yes, yeah, so those expenses going forward, and we would have to add that into our parks.
Expenses in debt servicing or expenses in,
Well, your
Operating
maintenance
the
and thing,
field.
operating the
Yeah,
field
but
and,
capital debt is not related to operational. Capital debt is related to debt servicing, that's an expense. Operational is pay to keep it operating, and the revenue you generate from that minus the expenses, net or,
I haven't seen any operating budget here that's really paying off all the debt for Parks and Recreation.
they don't, and they shouldn't have to, they should be net, they should be
So
neutral.
the operational dollars would be much greater.
So, Chris, do you have an idea what is the average they charge for turf fields?
not off the top of my head, no. I know that we would have fees from way back when we were doing the scheduling for UPEI, but I mean, obviously those fees have increased. There are numbers out there, but I don't know.
No, it's okay, thanks.
Going back there.
I'll move the budget.
I'll second.
That's good, sir.
Just,
Um,
Christopher, is it this budget of the travel for elected officials?
correct, it's underneath administration. Yeah,
How
so
much
it's,
do we have for travel?
so there's a total of 7,000 for elected and 7,000 for staff.
Alright. And if we have to make an adjustment later on, we can do that.
Correct, and that comes out of the mayor's budget.
No? Oh, the adjustment,
I like that, I like
We've
that.
run over that. Always wanna work.
It's not.
First time for everything.
Okay.
Okay,
Councilors, well, that's a good point. Why don't we just raise it now?
yeah, let's raise it now.
If,
Make it 10, cause Council Bernard, in your budget, it's 10.
Yep.
Yeah,
I
just
put it
make
up to 10
What are we?
for the travel,
For
for
elected
Councilor
officials.
Tweel. Put it up to 10.
Well, it's for the committee.
10 for elected or
10 for elected.
And go 10 for the staff too. Make it fair.
Is that standard for all the committees?
Usually, yeah. What do you mean, wait now, what do you mean, what's the use of it or what do you know?
I'm hearing, so in under administration here, somewhere, maybe staff development, I don't know
under
where
staff
it's at.
development, yes.
That includes travel for council members on the committee?
Correct.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
is that included in all committee budgets?
That's
Or
up-
all, sorry, not committee budgets, but
All
That's up to the
departmental
committee
budgets.
chair.
Budgets.
That's the committee chair to ask, I want some money in my budget for travel and personal, professional development.
Related to your department.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Like I've said, like Trevor on an environment sustainability has gone on a couple of trips for environment sustainability,
Professional development.
couple I couldn't make.
Okay,
Mr. Chair, we had talked at one point in time, I think during the budget process, since I came back, about putting all elected travel under mayor and council, but I don't know if that has any.
I think that, Richard, what happened to that? What did senior management talk about? Did they?
Still working on it.
Oh, still work.
I prefer to keep it,
So
myself, I prefer to keep it within the,
Departments.
department standing committees.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, everybody okay?
Good.
I'll make that
Green light.
adjustment.
Thanks, Christopher.
Okay.
Job well done.
Well, that's only part of it, so now we have the new initiatives
Oh,
that you want to discuss and.
no money
just go
left,
through.
Chris,
no
sorry.
money left, Chris. It's all done.
Well, I'll tell you what, if we don't get the staff for Simmons Pool initiative approved, we won't have a pool to operate this summer, so
I'll get Emma Louise back there. She'll
So it's-
do some.
it's not in the package, but it is underneath the OneDrive. I've set them in there as a separate
There was
folder.
there was a glitch with, Microsoft over the weekend.
Didn't affect it.
What?
Didn't affect it.
Can you put the new initiatives up
Well,
on?
We got a
Do you
green
have it
light.
in the drive?
You weren't getting the stuff?
No, I wasn't
I put it
getting
in
it.
OneDrive.
I called on Saturday and then. I
See, that's where the
Friday
issue
night
is.
This
Okay.
morning,
Go back to.
and on my computer, I'm not getting it.
I didn't see them, that's why I didn't know.
Does it?
Is it on the
I'm not
OneDrive,
seeing
Chris?
Christopher.
His name?
I don't
I know, it's, and that's what I said, we had,
Yeah, we had issues with them.
Oh,
I think it was the Russians.
how many,
You made updates and
11.
then I could see
there's
it.
11 new initiatives?
yes.
Oh,
I thought it was Musk.
Well, it depends, I guess, how fast we.
okay, we have 11 new initiatives, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
That's our-
Let's go, Christopher. Fire away.
It's on the OneDrive, Christopher.
Apparently it's not.
No,
I looked.
can't- I don't have it.
Oh, yeah.
I don't have the OneDrive period.
You should have it.
Just
There's
take
an
a minute.
icon there on your. So, Christopher,
Do you have to press the button?
if I
Press
open
that
it up,
button there.
Sorry?
if I open up Parks and Recreation, I don't get anything.
Yeah, I don't know why that's not,
Installing.
my apologies, I thought that it had saved in there, cause I didn't put it in the actual document. What else do I need to do here,
Can Dale
Chris?
can you send it out to us, Dale? The document? I'd just like to have the
It was
doc,
sent out,
It
back
doesn't-
what?
no, for new initiatives?
Yeah.
It's 11
So
on the
when you said that it update, oh, there you go.
Jeez. Dennis King appointed as Masters Ireland. Shake, rattle and roll.
Alright,
They're really called professional.
I know, just wondering.
Yeah, I know.
okay, so these are in order of how staff would like to see them go. And as I mentioned, the Simmons Pool staff is very important in order for us to be able to operate the pool this summer. So we're asking for an additional 42,000 in our operational budget. So if you look at the numbers projected to be saved this year, the extra costs that we're able to absorb for the total of 72,000, we would be able to absorb 30,000 in our proposed 25-26 budget, and we're asking for an additional 42,000. We haven't had a pool a second pool in operation for the last couple of years, so we reduced those staffing numbers to save in those two operational budgets the last 2 years. So this year, with the pool being at operational status, we are asking for that increase to operate this year.
Okay.
Alright,
Keep going,
Are you
Chris.
looking for a vote on each individual
I don't
one?
know if we need
No,
to
just-
have,
Just go right through it, and if there's any questions, we'll
So
address.
could you just tell me quickly the total of all the new initiatives? What's,
total spending, I have no idea, I didn't do a total on that.
oh, you just did
I just did them individually, cause they go to each individual account when we do that total, so
what's the first one?
it
What's
was
the?
42,000.
Okay.
My apologies, I probably should have done a total on that.
Just keep going,
Okay.
Chris.
The second one is. So the second one is for a full-time cleaner at Simmons Arena. So currently, right now, we have 2 seasonal cleaners, and with the facility being open now 12 months of the year and being very busy, this ask is for the difference between hiring a 39-week seasonal position and hiring a full-time permanent cleaner. So if this was approved, we would have one full-time cleaner, and we would still have a seasonal cleaner at Simmons.
Not two.
We would still have 2, but one seasonal and one would be full-time.
What's the cost increase?
$30,984. So everything is just up here in your screen too.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So the third one is a contract grass cutting. So last year we have received, or we've taken over a number of different park areas, new parks and things that have opened. So in order to keep up with that grass cutting last year, even just to keep the grass from growing before we even did any development in those parks, it was around $10,000 for that contract. So instead of, we have it later here as a new initiative for hiring new staff, but if we're able to just incorporate the $10,000 into our operational budget for contract grass cutting, we can maintain those 4 new parks and the potential for 2 to 3 new additional parks in the 2025 season. So $10,000 is the ask for that one. Now the next 2 are both revenue. The first one is for Simmons Pool.
Yes.
So we're asking to have the fee for Simmons Pool reintroduced for the new facility. Get this up here.
How much?
We're anticipating that we could generate $20,000 in revenue for the Simmons Pool. We're expecting that the pool will be very busy this summer with people wanting to come and see the new facility. The cost would be $2, same as what we had before for an entry fee, and it would cover you for the whole day. So $2.
$2 for the day.
$2 for the whole day to
Jeez.
come in.
Bring a picnic.
And similar to, like I know Cornwall operates a pool and they charge a fee for their pool. They have different swimming hours that they allot for the public. They have swimming lessons that they offer at that pool as well too. So you can only go, certain periods of time and you pay a fee for those periods. But when the pool is operational for Simmons, it would be $2. And of course, Victoria Park would still remain open and free, as we're not allowed to charge for that pool, so.
I wanna discuss that. We did waive the fee for the pool in recent years, as you can recall.
Yeah, it was in bad shape.
2020, we
No, it wasn't because
2020, we
it
reduced.
It wasn't because it was in bad shape, that wasn't the rationale.
Pool was in bad shape for 20 years.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
It had nothing to do with
Yeah, okay.
with the state of the facility.
Yeah.
It was, just like Chris pointed out, we weren't charging down at Victoria Park. And, to waive the fee went over very well. There's lots of kids in our community. People might think, well, $2 is not a lot, but if there's 3 or 4 kids to a household and they're not involved in any sport whatsoever, this is a great opportunity for them to gravitate towards the Simmons Pool. So I don't think it's a big expenditure, and the 20,000, it's good for the community. Personally, I'd like to see it remain free. I would. We did it before, it went over well. Not everything has to cost. When it comes to recreational programming and facilities.
Mr. Chair, can I just ask, Chris, can you tell me what the capacity is at that pool?
I don't know what the new capacity will be. The old one was 120, but that's because it was the L-shaped pool. The capacity of Victoria Park is smaller, and I think it's about 65.
At where, Victoria
It's
Park?
Victoria Park, it's smaller, so this pool will have a larger, but not as big as the old one because of the design of it, but it would have close to 100 bathers at one time that are allowed in the pool facility. We're gonna set it up as well too, that it's gonna have tables, like, I'd say bistro tables, but like little tables that people will be able to go down and kind of, relax and enjoy the pool deck and be there for the day. It'll be a destination, that's for sure, and if you still have Victoria Park open, that is an option for people to go to as well. It'll reduce some of the capacity issues that we have at Victoria Park, but I still think people are gonna wanna come to Simmons. It'll have 2 diving boards, it's got a deep end, it's got the 6 lanes that we'll be able to do outdoor swim meets and things like that, so.
I think you're gonna have a facility that's gonna be open all summer, you're gonna have your summer sports going in there all summer long, they're gonna wanna jump into the pool too. To me, there always has to be some cost recovery, $2 cheap. So I'm okay with the charge, I mean, you gotta have some cost recovery. It is a new facility, and I agree, it's gonna be packed, so you're gonna have to keep people out. You're gonna have.
You will have to limit so that's why we have in the first new initiative is we used to call them ticket takers, but it'll be a gate attendant that'll be there to monitor the number of people going to the pool, and if it's at capacity, then we have to wait, and those people have to.
So how many lifeguards will be for this particular pool? Does this change in the amount of lifeguards you need?
So before the old pool, we had 5 lifeguards that were at the pool during the main part of the day, and then in the evenings there was 3, and then the other 2 would go down to Victoria Park. So this new design allows you to have less guards that need to be up on deck at one time, whereas before you needed to have at least 2. So there will be 4 guards at that facility at one time that will be supervising that pool, and then your gate attendant as well too.
So, Mr. Chair, Christopher's is 25 meters long.
Correct.
20 meters? Is it 25 by
25.
25? Is it?
Yeah.
It's 25 long, I don't know what the width is.
It's 25 by
Wide.
25.
Well, it had 6
6
lanes.
lanes, whatever.
6 lanes, it's got six swim lanes, so. And it has a 0 entry ramp as well too, I made note of that in this, and so it's, anybody will be able to, in a wheelchair, we have a water wheelchair that's.
So what's the budget for the gate attendant? 10,000? How much?
So they're included in the overall, Simmons ask for the lifeguards, and the gate attendant would be included in that too, for the 32.
Okay, so if you separate the gate attendant,
Or
out, how much
42.
will that be?
1,000.
1,000?
It's a 10-week position at minimum wage and $16.50 an hour so they would be at like 6,000 or 7,000.
Okay, so that 20,000 that you're anticipating through $2 per child per day.
And we're looking at keeping, like, opening the pool, maybe extending the hours of the pool, and we may even open earlier depending on what your season is like as well too, just on reduced hours, but just to be able to give people access to the pool a little bit sooner. And then depending on your weather, we run into issues with staff going back to school and things like that, or just issues of trying to find lifeguards. But we would extend some of those hours as well to the pool to make it more accessible to people.
Maybe what we can do is go with the revenue. Monitor access, and maybe offer programs throughout the year or throughout the season that this week's free for free family swims, those types of things, and then just see if if it's worth keeping it open for free.
The reason we can't charge at Victoria Park, there's an act. It's
Yeah,
called
in the bylaw, you're
Victoria Park
not
Act of 1873. So totally recreational, you can't charge. But I understand where Councillor Tweel's coming from, but Councillor Tweel, you'll also have to look at, I know it's not your favorite,
Economic, social,
no, I know it's not your favorite place, but the Bell Alliance Center, they do charge to use the pool.
that's right.
And it's 87% city
Funded by the
facility.
taxpayers of
Yeah.
Charlotte.
Yeah.
Right.
So this will be 100% funded by the taxpayers.
But just to speak to that, your worship, and through the chair, there's all kinds of organizations out in the community that support programming in the community and would sponsor, like a family swim, and would sponsor individual swims and that, so that we are getting the revenue stream without it costing the user. So we could certainly explore those kinds of opportunities with our local Rotary clubs and Wiseman and different groups that do support programs. Because we do have free activities happening out at Cary that are sponsored.
Yeah, I'm just concerned about the $2 a day. You could get some kids in there that could stay, and that's fine, but I think
That's
there
exactly
were
what
youth
happened.
swims. I know when Emma was
Yes.
a lifeguard, there was youth swims, so it's hour and a half, 2 hours, you paid for that. Then you had to leave,
You would
right?
pay your 125. So what, the other thing that we do,
Adult swimming was also.
Then there was adult swimming too.
so the other thing we do, we incorporate, and at Victoria Park, and we incorporated at Simmons too, that if the pool is running at capacity for extended periods of time, we will close the pool, ask everybody to get out of the pool. We'll let them know in advance that we have a break that's upcoming. Everybody would have to get out of the pool, and then they would have to line up and come back into the pool. Similar to what we used to do of like the
Yeah.
hour and a half swim, they'd pay the $1.25. Those people would leave, then they'd have to
Down
come back,
YMCA.
pay their $1.25 again, right? So if we do end up with kids that are, there for the whole day, then as long as we're not at capacity,
It's fine.
then it's fine, right? And they're getting to swim for the whole day for 2 hours. Majority of kids are not staying for the whole day, or they go, they might stay for an hour and then go home, have some lunch, go play, maybe have a sport, or then they're coming back later for an evening swim or something after they've done
But the
something.
game changer for this new pool is that the old pool was exposed to Simmons Field.
Right,
And every day there was a nor'wester, that wind would cut right across it. That building's there now, the rink's there,
right.
and you're totally in the sun.
And we
So
do
there
have
will
wind
be more
screens as well that
opportunities
we're
just to
purchasing.
hang around, because I think it's gonna work out very well. Hot sun, cooler water.
So Chris, what was the $20,000 ask for?
The 20,000 was the revenue, so that's the projected,
You project
the way the
20,000.
new initiative forms are set up, it doesn't give you a revenue or an expense, it's set up as an expense, but I had put it in as that we would generate $20,000 in revenue for,
It's not
charging
really a
that
new
fee.
initiative, it's just, you're showing the revenue. You're not
But
asking
we set it
for
up as a new initiative, yes.
But you're not asking for 20,000, you're saying
No,
it's gonna
we're
raise
saying that we're gonna give back 20,000 to our revenue to increase that
If we
revenue.
charge $2.
If we charge $2, yeah.
So I think I would have put it down in your revenue statement.
It is, so if you look at the bottom on the variance report, that's in underneath programs, it has programs miscellaneous pool, it has the 20,000 in there. Just the way that this budget document's set up, it doesn't allow you to allocate that to, or it is actually allocated to a revenue account, but it looks like it's an expense, but that account that it's showing there for the GL account is actually a revenue account underneath our budget, so just the number's not increased as well on the document, because it has to be approved first before it can be.
So you have it under programs?
It's underneath programs, under the summary, but it's not in the total because it's not approved. So it would be an additional $856, and then you would add 20,000 to it. Yeah.
So that's $20,000 increase to your revenue side,
Correct,
if this gets approved.
if it gets approved, correct. And then the next
So
one,
that actually will knock down your total ask. What are you up now, 90,000?
New initiatives.
Yeah, but that gets, the total budget will be down to 60,000 than what it was last year then.
yes.
Yeah, okay.
Next one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next one's on the screen there, it's the sports field user fee increase, so our fees for sports fields have remained relatively low in comparison to other regional and local municipalities. We do provide, and I will say, we do provide a very high level of service for our fields, and we've have many comments about the service and the field conditions that we do offer for all of our sports fields, and we're proposing an increase of 100% in those rental fees for all of our sports fields. We're
100%, did you say?
100% increase, yeah.
Ooh, that's gonna go over.
So when you say 100%, give me an example of a field that's a big
So right now, if you take your minor ball team and you play on Tuesday nights at City Diamond, I'm charging you, I'll give you an estimate of like a rough, like $100 plus HST for the whole season. So if this increased, then I'll be charging you $200
For the whole season,
for the
for the
whole
whole season.
for the whole season. Whereas when we look at other municipalities, what they're charging is a per user fee. So if you play minor ball in Stratford or Cornwall, you're paying $15, or you're being charged $15, for example, as a player, and then you have a certain allotment of time that your team is allowed to play. So minor ball in Cornwall might have 400 players, so they charge them $400 times 15. And then if they go over their allotted number of hours, they get charged an hourly rate of a certain amount. So one team over there might be charged $8,000, or not a team, but like an association might be charged $8,000 for their field rentals. In comparison to here with Charlottetown Minor Ball, they're only paying like $3,000 for their field rentals. And on top of that, we're giving them a minor sports subsidy back, which covers the cost of their field rentals. So this would just be for sports fields, so your ball fields, softball fields, baseball fields, soccer, multi-sport field. We're not increasing the rinks by 100%, it's just for the sports fields. And our fees have remained really low, and a lot of people will tell us that we have like the lowest fees, and they'll want to come and play and try to rent our facilities because they're at a lower cost compared to where other facilities are in Cornwall, Stratford. And tournament fees as well too are very low in comparison to what other municipalities are charging, so.
Can we get a list of that, Chris, showing what other municipalities are charging for the
Yes.
fields compared to ours?
Yep, we have that, I can email that out.
And could we also get, I think you guys did studies before on the cost recovery, where we are on cost recovery. Can we get that, Chris, to the percentage?
Sure.
We have an underlying principle, have always had in the arenas, to try to achieve a 50% cost recovery.
Yeah.
We haven't carried that over into a lot of our other service deliveries particularly in Parks and Rec. And it would be really interesting to see our costs to maintain these sports fields.
That's why
It's not, yeah, you're not.
Be interesting to get those numbers, see what they show.
Then I think what happens is now we have to do something abrupt, like 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I would question the
We could do it
prudence of
gradually.
that. It might need to
Well,
be
I
a
guess
little
you
more
ask for
gradual.
100, maybe you get some, but it's still, when you do 100%, the numbers.
That's 100 for the whole season, correct?
That's right.
If you're
But
paying
that's
now,
but that's per night, so you might
Also,
have,
it's per night.
Per a lot.
sorry, so you use City Diamond on Tuesday nights for the whole summer.
Right.
And you're getting charged $100 plus HST.
Yeah.
But that,
Every Tuesday night.
every Tuesday night, that's all you're getting charged is $100 for that whole season.
Season.
But minor ball obviously is using Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday nights or whatever, right? But their fees that they're paying are still below what other municipalities are paying. And then on top of that, we're giving them a minor sports subsidy, which basically we're wiping out any revenue that we're collecting, because you're giving them back a subsidy that's covering the cost of their field rentals. The adult groups obviously pay a little bit more, and so they should, but the minor sport groups, and we don't charge for lights, so they're using lights at those fields, we're losing.
There's no charge to turn the lights on?
No, not for minor sport. Adults we do, but for minor sports we don't.
So
what, is it a 20-week season, like you're saying, is that $100 accurate, or is that just a ballpark?
That's just a rough, that's,
So you, like, if it's,
109.
okay, it's 109
for the
plus
season.
HST, you're looking at like $7 every time you go to use the field.
yeah.
Correct.
It
Over a
is very
20
low,
Over a
and-
20-week period, like it's,
Lights.
And
with
to
lights, like it's
to-
absolutely like.
To
low.
Sue's point, the major increase ask here is very abrupt because for a number of years, before we even had CPI, when you go to do, even when you do CPI of 2%, you're only increasing that by $3, right? So it's not even a major increase, so that's why we're, and then after that, again, to Councilor Matard's point, it would be, you would be somewhat comparable to what the rest are, and you would only ask for the CPI going forward, if this was approved, but
And that was the thought process behind going that way with the arenas, the 2% every year, instead of every 5 years asking for 10, and then it's really impactful, it's just 2% a year.
Yeah, same as water and wastewater, that's what we did. That's the feds did with alcohol and cigarettes.
But I wouldn't mind getting that information first from Chris before we can make a decision on this.
But this has to go through to finance
Yeah, it
this week. So can
It's
we,
not-
can we put it through
Oh, yeah.
and then we can examine the details of that before it actually.
You mean move it up?
Well, I guess I'm just concerned that if we have to wait until the next rec committee meeting to approve that revenue stream, then we might miss out on the actual incorporating it into the budget at this point.
Why don't we use the same system they use in Stratford? That you pay per player, it's
because
administration work.
well, there is a lot of administration work, and we're already, you're kind of doing that with the subsidy stuff too, and we have some issues with subsidy where you're not getting accurate numbers for subsidy because people are putting that they live in the city and they don't actually live in the city and things like that, right? So it is a little bit more administrative
We found it with the subsidy, yeah.
nightmare,
Yeah.
part of that, so.
I just find that, a big increase like that, it should be incremental. You could look at over the next 3 to 4 years, 25%, but 100% just 1 year. I know it's not, it's not the dollar value, it's the percentage.
It's the percentage, yes, it does,
You always-
shock you when you see 100%.
Yeah, 100%.
But when you look at the numbers,
I
you know,
know,
it's.
people don't look at the numbers, they look at the percentage. That's my issue.
So what's the wishes of the
Yeah,
committee?
you'll have to decide
Well,
before-
for me, I mean, it's tough to say right now. I don't know what a turf field's gonna cost, and that's gonna come in, there's gonna be fees in that. So I don't know what the comparison's gonna be for a regular field to a turf field. I don't know what the cost recovery is. Are we looking at 20%? Are we looking at 45%? Like where, to me, it's, I don't know how we can, I mean, I'm okay with moving it ahead.
Yeah.
We'll get you the rest
But
of
on
the
this particular
numbers.
issue, whether we do a phone call or whatever and go through you, Sue, and say yes or no. at
Well,
that
your
time.
only other option, I guess, is to not advance it as a new initiative at this point in time. Allow the staff a little more opportunity to research what the cost recovery is now compared to what it would be, what the incremental increase would look like versus one leap of faith in this fiscal. And it could run a parallel course, come into council in April or May or April, or like sometime before the actual sport fields are up and running. It doesn't have to be in the budget.
Plus,
No, but I think during budget time, we usually have more meetings for finance if we
Yeah,
have to.
yeah.
If we have to
Yeah.
meet next week over this one issue, then we meet next week.
Yeah, okay.
what do you think, Councillor? Twill,
Whatever the committee's wishes are.
are you in favor of the 100% or looking at something different?
No, well, I'm in favor of
More information.
more information,
Yeah.
further exploration. I mean,
Yeah, I think, I'd like to see it, I think we need to get up to those rates, but more gradual.
Yeah.
I think that, I don't think the argument is here, we
there's.
we don't need to get to more
there's
comparable
also-
rates, we just need to gradual.
There's also a philosophical thing we need to look at too. Maybe now's not the time, but later on. We need to get more people involved in recreation. More kids that through no fault of their own are prohibited because of cost. And it's hard on single parents, it's hard on people that are just trying to make a go of it. And
That's why we have kids sport programs.
no, I know, Terry, but with all due respect to kids' sport, like a lot of people, they don't wanna get into showing their financials and all that kind of stuff. Like a lot of, there's gotta be a way, because there's a lot of children and young people in our city that we're not reaching. We're just not reaching them. And I think we need to do some type of analysis or some kind of an assessment and to see what the barriers are, financial, equipment, whatever sport that they wanna play. But that's down the road, Christopher, and, I've always wanted to look at that, to make sure that our city is truly inclusive when it comes to, sports and recreation, because we have a lot of kids that are not participating.
Counselor Twill. Being the father of a son and daughter, Mike White was Alex's coach, Emma Louise played soccer. It's the registration. But Mike White can tell you, and so could Emma Louise's coach tell you, there's also getting to those venues to play the sports.
That's exactly
Right?
right.
It's not just the registration, it's not just the equipment.
That's right.
Mike will tell you, it's 6 o'clock in the morning practices, or if you're on the Bluefin swim team, the 5:30, 5 o'clock in the morning practices. Parents have to get their children to those venues, so I understand what you're saying, there's a lot, it's a complex issue when we're
That's
talking
right,
about.
and a lot of parents don't have vehicles.
That's right, and I think those are other issues we have to address.
And that's why the new Simmons Arena is such an advantage in the community, because a lot of participants can walk there. So anyway, we're gonna look at that down the road. So Christopher, what else do you have?
So the next one is an arena admin assistant, so basically it's a second, it would be a third admin assistant within our department, so with the expanded operations at Simmons, we currently have a 6-month contract support person that works from May until October in our Parks and Arenas office out at Brackley Point Road. This new position would be to permanently hire, or to hire someone in a permanent basis, to act as an admin assistant to assist with the Simmons, and then also to assist with some of the community center bookings and things like that. One person is kind of doing that majority of work, and the 6-month position used to be able to support that staff person, but now with the expanded operations of our community centers as well, with more bookings, it needs a second admin person for the Parks and Arenas.
Where would they work out of, Chris?
So they would work out of Simmons, and then potentially in the summertime when Simmons wasn't quite as busy, they could go to our Parks office at Brackley Point Road, so.
I'm fine with that. Councilor Bernard, Councilor Matart, two gentlemen, okay?
It says 2026 for 77,000. What's 2025?
Again, that's the way the new initiative form was set up. It says 2026, but it should say 2025. That was
Okay.
the way the form is set up. It's not how we did it, but all of them say 2026.
Okay.
The next one, as I mentioned, was the parks. Instead of the contract positions, we would hire 3 additional entry-level seasonal positions to cut the grass at those additional parks that I had mentioned before. So instead of $10,000, it would be an increase of $79,000. So an increase of $69,000 to cover cutting grass in all those facilities. So instead of the contract, we would hire 3 new entry-level positions.
People,
Yeah, but going along with that, you would still also need to have equipment to go with that. We didn't ask for additional equipment, but
Who's cutting it now?
so we have contracts, so we have our staff that are cutting currently what we have, and then we hired contractor to come in and hire the other 3, or we hired a contractor to come in and cut the other 4 new parks that we had, and the additional 2 to 3 parks we might have for this year.
So these parks here, we're cutting now, right? Parkdale School.
No, well, Parkdale School and Frank McCauley are underneath Public Works. They cut those, so those would come back to us at the schools, because they weren't getting cut as frequent and they're used a lot. Both ball fields are used a lot, and Public Works had it within their rotation. It used to be contract, and then Public Works took it back, and then they started cutting it, but this would be us taking over those 2 ball fields to cut. In addition to the 4 new parks and the 2 to 3 additional parks I had mentioned before in the
and this helps, Christopher, with consistency. Like, for example, you cut what, once every 10 days or?
Oh, no, we try to cut at least once a week, like our sports fields, you're there on Tuesdays at Winslow Soccer and they know, and then the staff come in and they line the field, and parks, maybe not quite as frequent, but your sports fields definitely need to have at least once a week to be cut if
It's
if you get a
Definitely
rainy
an
season.
issue, I think it's a good initiative.
But is there not a cost recovery here in the sense of the contractors that you were paying?
It's $10,000.
It was 10?
Yeah, this is 79, cause you're hiring entry-level seasonal positions, so you have to have all their benefits and everything that go along with
And then
that
we have to
too.
buy equipment.
And then you have to get the additional equipment for it as well too.
Why would we keep it as contract?
Again, that's why this is rated at a 7 and the other one is rated at a 3.
Okay.
So this is priority within the next 5 years, it's not something that,
Can we
Okay.
do this?
but just to make you aware that this
I-
is something that we're gonna need going forward.
I'm in, well, I mean, whatever the committee decides, but I see the importance of it. I know it's a challenge, especially we get a lot of rain.
Yeah, that seems to be one of the problems.
Like, I mean, field maintenance, Christopher, tell me if I'm wrong, but that's top priority for this department. And, we gotta have the resources and the personnel. So I certainly see the need for it. I really do. I think it's warranted. I think it's,
Well, just to be clear, it's not necessarily gonna be done anymore. We had a contractor doing it, he's recommending we do it.
what, Kate, Christopher, help
So
me
we have
with
to buy
the,
the equipment.
in terms of the advantages of having our own personnel dedicated to field maintenance, grass cutting and lining the field and other things that are required.
You're still gonna have to have, even if you had a contractor go in and cut those sports fields, you're still gonna have to have our staff go in and line, they're not lining those fields and doing all that maintenance on it, right? So if that wasn't approved, then that grass cutting would stay with Public Works. So it wouldn't come back to Parks and Recreation, but the other fields are just the other areas are just parks, so.
But our guys are lining the fields now, are they not?
Yeah, we have them, they're lining the field, so our park
That
staff
will
are,
continue to.
that would continue, correct.
But here's one of the challenges too, is that lots of times there's confusion in the community. They believe that it's Parks and Rec that's responsible for cutting some of these fields and parks and whatnot.
Right, and
And lots of times, unfairly or not, we get criticized, and it's not our staff that's cutting the grass. And they don't know the distinction between Public Works or contractors, they just automatically assume it's Parks and Rec. I mean, I've run into these emails and, and got confused myself, and I don't know, I'm of the mindset that Parks and Rec should fulfill its own responsibility when it comes to field maintenance and grass cutting, and that way we know when it's gonna get done, and Public Works should be doing Public Works responsibilities, and Parks and Rec should be doing.
And Public Works has been good, if
No,
I
I'm
needed to
not-
call
I'm
them
not criticizing, but I'm not
to cut that
criticizing, I'm
grass,
not
but they have other
criticizing
priorities as
They got
well
other
too, right? So,
priorities,
yeah.
and I mean, I'm sure they would love to, tell me if I'm wrong, Christopher, I'm sure they would like to get out of, doing field maintenance and grass cutting.
Yeah, but they're not doing field maintenance, they're just
No, they're
doing
doing-
the
but
grass
grass
cutting
cutting.
of the field. We still do the field maintenance, so like I said, it's a priority number 7, it's a priority within the next 5 years. We need to have the equipment that go along with it, but I think it's more here for information purposes. We can get along with the contractors for next year,
Okay.
or for this coming year, but this is just to put it on the radar. If we continue to get more parks
Well,
and
yeah.
things, we're gonna need more equipment and we're gonna need more staff to operate that equipment and to maintain these parks and sports fields.
I don't wanna belabor the point, but with new subdivisions, a new growth and development when it comes to, homes and multi-purpose residents and all that kind of stuff. I mean, this is all part of it, folks. It's great to say we want all this stuff, but it puts onus on, additional onus on the different departments, and Parks and Rec is no different. So we've got to increase it on an annual basis. Councilor Mattar, would you like to add anything to that, or?
No, I mean, there's obviously some advantages of both of those, plus contracting out. I think, you need to sit down and look at what that model looks like, if we're contracting out and we're not getting the service we need in a timely way, then I can see how we would look to do that internal and control that more ourselves. I don't know if that's the case here. You know, we can't change weather and all those things that impact these things, but yeah, I mean, you make valid points about everything's growing and we need to
Yeah,
increase
so-
the compound. We could also do that through contract. It's quite
I
discrepancy.
just think that we are the city,
$10,000 to $78,000 or whatever it
well,
was.
we're the city of Charlotte, we're not individual departments, I mean, if we've got equipment and so on, and we're gonna start a whole new department now, grass cutting, we're gonna buy all new equipment, all new staff and train them. I mean, the contract costs $10,000, if we're increasing the work, then we increase the contract.
Yes, possibilities there too, yeah.
Anyway,
Anyway.
Christian, will you be coming forward, or are you presenting it now as a recommendation?
I mean, I present it here as a recommendation, but I know we can't ask for all those dollars to be incorporated into our operational budget. But I would be cautious because we don't have that equipment. You're hiring 3 additional staff persons this year, potentially, but you don't have the additional equipment right now for them to use. So if you know, make the committee aware that maybe next year we're gonna need that and we go with the contract. And then my understanding is that we can secure a contract for this year, potentially. The same group might be interested in doing it that we had last year. We had just incorporated that $10,000 into our operational budget cost last year, but we're trying to budget for it for this year, so.
But you also you got 13 initiatives. This one's listed as your number 7 priority. So what, as administration, are you asking to look at the top 3?
I'm sorry, I'm just tuning in with these guys now, so I don't know.
Well, I think he's asking more than 3. You know,
Well, certainly the
each one that he's outlined so far has been pretty reasonable.
Yeah, we're getting into the heavy lifting here now. The last 2 have been
So-
$70,000 each.
We're gonna have a budget we have to keep within too. So
Are you
let's
asking
keep
about
going.
priorities?
Yeah, if
Yeah,
they come in with 1, 2, or 3.
You should be, yes.
Yeah, and that's why we rated them as 1, 2, and 3. So Simmons Pool staff was number 1, because if we don't have that, we can't operate the pool. And then number 2 was the Simmons cleaner. If it's not approved, then we would just continue with the 2 seasonal staff that we have, but we eventually have to lay both of them off, and then you're gonna be left with time that you don't have a staff person in that facility. So that was 2, and then the other 2 were the both revenue,
Potential revenue streams.
yeah, the potential revenue streams that we were looking at, so.
Well, maybe if we can just quickly go through these. I know we have to go into a closed session and I'm gonna have to jump here
Same
very
here.
soon.
Okay.
So we've gotta get moving here.
So just for, I guess, for information purposes, number 8 that we had was park storage. So currently, right now, our new facility, the Brackley Point Road, is less space than we had in our previous building. So staff were looking at potentially trying to rent additional space to incorporate our playground building, carpentry work, things like that. And it was a cost of around $70,000.
Christopher, I'm sorry to interrupt, but are you saying we have less space than what we had before?
Correct.
With the new facility?
Correct.
Holy mother of God, how did that happen? Who's responsible for
I
that,
don't know, I
Richard?
wasn't on that, I wasn't a part of that, but
Well, I
the
mean-
2, just the way that the facility was designed, it's less bay space and things like that. So we actually have had some conversations with Public Works, and there's potential that there might still be some space that we may be able to access at the McAleer facility
Yeah.
that they're using, so we're gonna work with Public Works to see if we can, it's storage for some of our outdoor rink equipment that we need the big thing for, and then the other part is for our building of playground equipment and carpentry work and things like that. We're limited in the amount of
So
space that we
in the new
have,
building, there's Parks and Rec, water utility,
that's it,
that's it.
but
So
there's
it
less,
wasn't-
Less
wasn't
space than you
built-
had before.
there's less space than we
So,
had
so it
before.
wasn't built big enough, obviously.
Correct.
Okay, so, yeah, anyway, that never ceases to amaze
Story
me.
for another day, I think, Ken.
Yeah.
I know CAO, but I mean, geez.
I understand.
The next 2 are, one would be for a permanent maintenance park staff person with a horticultural focus. So right now we struggle to find someone with a horticultural focus that will work for the entry level or the seasonal rate, and we've been without a true horticultural person for the
Thor?
last number of years. Well, Beth wasn't a horticulture, she was more, she had a different focus, but it was trying to find somebody on a permanent basis. We have seasonal workers that come to work, but some, they don't, we just haven't been able to keep those people on because whether it's age or it's just the salary that they're being paid to do that focus. So we would like to,
Did we hire some horticulturalists last year in environment sustainability?
it's more than I can tell
So
you.
you know, do we have more than one or two horticulturalists in environment sustainability?
I thought they were environmental
Horticulturalists?
officers that we were, that
No,
we had the
they-
debate about that.
I recall, and it may have been the year before last, but
No.
I know we needed some more horticulturalists to be able to do the work and a lot of the trees we were planting, I'm sure we.
I think
Jessica's
they have a
horticulturist,
different,
right?
I think they have a different title, they're like an arborist, not a horticulture. Yeah,
Is that?
It's
More on the
forestry.
forestry side, I
based.
believe.
and we've run into, and go back to, when we did have the one individual within Parks and Recreation, there was some issues with work that was being done within another department, not within another department, but it was like considered to be another department's work or another union's work or something like that, so you couldn't take someone from horticultural and environment and sustainability and have them with Parks and Recreation because they may not focus on that specific area that we need and what environment and sustainability are doing, so that again would be later on, that would be a priority number 8 for us, or sorry, 9 for
So,
us.
okay. So we don't have a horticulturalist in the city of Charlotte Hill right now?
Not within our department, well, not a permanent full-time position. So we do have,
Not in the
Pos-
department, but in the city.
I don't know, in the city.
Just Beth Orr would have been she would have had those
I
qualifications
think, yeah.
when she was in Parks.
Yeah, she was pretty good. It was really good.
So again, that more for information purposes, at some point down the road, we'd like to hire, we understand again that it's not something that we can incorporate into this budget. And then number 10 was, if not a permanent, then it would be an entry-level seasonal position to hire someone for 30 weeks to focus on horticulture. Okay, and then the last one is, we've had requests for the minor sports subsidy increase from a couple of different groups, so that cost, if we were to increase the minor sports subsidy across the board for all user groups, would be a 45% increase and would cost about $100,000. And that's the last of our
So
new
with the
initiatives.
subsidies, Christopher, do they bring their financial statements forward?
Absolutely, yes.
So, how do you make that determination?
So the minor sports subsidy rates have been the same since I started with the city back in 2005. So minor ball gets a subsidy of $15 and minor hockey gets a subsidy of $120. And those numbers have not changed over the years. It's to reduce their fees for registration.
It's based on the registration cost?
And it's based on the registration costs, exactly, yeah. So they can't, minor hockey's not gonna get us, if they're charging, $200, they're not gonna get a $120 subsidy for there has to be a certain
Yeah.
range of what they're charging.
Right.
For a registration fee of what we're allocating for. But the difference is a non-resident pays $120 or pays more than what the subsidy amount is for a city resident. They're getting that discount, so. To do it across the board, not just with the 2 sports that had asked, it would be across the board, it would be $100,000, so.
What's committee's wishes?
Well, I'm getting the opinion, or I'm getting the impression that majority of these were for information only.
Uh,
And you said that.
For the most part, yes, I mean, I know I can't, that's why we rated them the way we did. The top 3 or top 4 would be our priorities, and then the rest are for information purposes going forward that we need. That's why it's rated as a priority within the next 5 years.
The first 2, we're looking for funding, and the next 2 were revenue generators.
Correct.
So we'll move the first 4.
First 2 for sure, yeah. First 4 for sure, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
first three were, the 10,000 was the third one, right? The fourth-
Oh, sorry, yes, the
fourth and
contract,
fifth
yes,
were
sorry,
revenue.
the contract was the contract work for grass cutting, so the Simmons Pool, the full-time cleaner and the contract grass cutting, and then the next two were Simmons Pool,
So 5 of them.
or.
So revenue generators, to me, doesn't make sense to have it as a new initiative and go ahead to approve, it's good, it's revenue generator, so the top three there that you guys were listing.
Staff for Simmons Pool, full-time cleaner at Simmons, and the contract grass cutting.
I'd move them ahead to find
Yeah, I
it.
think they're priorities.
That's right.
I'll move it.
Are you okay with that, Christopher?
I'm fine, yes.
I think we can revisit those other ones.
Well, we're gonna have to.
I think that's the idea of them
As things go.
bringing it to us.
Yes.
Brought them forward.
And again, I apologize, that wasn't on the OneDrive that you could have seen in advance and
No,
we
no.
didn't have to have as lengthy of a discussion for that.
Did a good
so.
job explaining things, Chris.
Well, great job, Christopher.
Made up for the time.
It's not easy, but, you know, I come back to what I said earlier. It's great to say we want all this development. You know, new subdivisions, new parks, new sports fields and all that kind of stuff. But we've gotta have the personnel.
Yeah.
We've gotta have the personnel, folks, so,
Nobody's disagreeing.
you know, well, I know, but it's,
Gotta turn on the lights after you build it.
well,
Let's move into
yeah,
a
certainly
closed
from
session.
an operational, that's what this budget is, it's operational. So, you know, Christopher, I think some of them other items, I mean, they're very important. Somewhere along the line, we're gonna have to make some changes and
But I
implement some of them.
think, to me, from what I'm hearing, I think you're thinking that by getting our own grass cutting crews, we're gonna get grass cut more. And I think as we expand, the contract can be expanded. Because to me, if
But
it's
the-
10,000 now, we have 4 more fields, it's another 10,000,
I
that's
know, but the
$20,000.
preference from our
Grass cut.
manager, he's saying, you know, isn't there advantage to having our own people do it, Christopher?
Yes, there is. There's a disadvantage as well too. You have more staff that you need to supervise, you have more equipment that you need to operate, you have, all those things, whereas if you have more expenses
Trucks.
compared to
More
if you had the
breakdowns.
10,000. Eventually, it would be nice to have our own staff, cause you can control a little bit more, but we've had contractors in the past and they have worked for what we needed, so, if we need to move forward, but again, so that the committee is aware, at some point, we're gonna have to expand some of those.
Can you,
Services.
at a later date,
We have a closed item to do.
We do.
now.
yeah, can you at a later date, just before we go into that, maybe give us a synopsis of the pros and cons of our own personnel versus, contract and what it does in terms of efficiency, productivity, in terms of, having that consistency, predictability, continuity, all those wonderful things.
Sure.
Great, okay, are we done now?
We're gonna move into a closed session.
Yeah, so I guess that we need to,
Minutes from the steering committees, do you?
They just go through and just approve if they have any questions, so that would just be the next two items. The Seniors Engagement Committee and the Youth Engagement.
No questions on those?
I do have to go very soon. I should be gone.
do you wanna postpone this other item?
No, I need to.
Let's get into it.
Okay, you need a motion to move into close.
Okay, so, business arising, no, I'm sorry, motion to move into a closed section
Moved.
as per section 119(1)(e) of the Municipal Government Act of Prince Edward Island, E, a matter still under consideration on which council has not yet publicly announced a decision and about which in public would likely prejudice a municipality's ability to carry out its negotiations, i.e. land sale, business, business arising from closed door session.
No, so we just need to go into closed.
Seconder to move
Motion to move back into a public session. Move. Second. We're now in a public session. Move for adjournment. Move.
Yep.
Motion carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Christopher, good work.